Hi everybody, Mr. Pash here. I'm going to go over our first critique assignment for week one, summer school art. And when we talk about critique, what we're talking about is pretty much just talking about art, what we think about a certain work of art. And so it's important to explore what we already think of what we consider good art to be, and also it's important to think about what we consider bad art to be. And so that's really what I want to get from you guys. It's kind of an idea of what you guys think. So it's really um, open to interpretation. It's your opinion. There's no right or wrong answer. Really, you just want to be descriptive and tell me what you guys think about art. It's important to do so because it kind of brings to light what our prejudices might be, not from a racial circumstance, but from art, and what our biases might be. Some of us might be um, really like realistic art versus abstract art, and that would be a bias. Other people might be opposite. They might think like realistic art, like what's the point? I could probably take a picture of it or something. And abstract art is really creative. It's original. Who knows? But that's what I mean by bias. And it's important to understand those things and take a second and kind of think about why we think that way, or at least to identify why we think that way. So we know going forward when we critique future art, we kind of realize, the perspective that we're coming with personally. So that's what I would like you guys to do mostly for this. And what we're going to get into also is um, the first step in critique. And there's 4 steps. It's description, analyzation, interpretation, and judgment. Okay, we're not going to get to the last 3 here. We're just talking about description. Okay. So what I would like you guys to do, I got the description here, basically what I just went over. What I would like you guys to do is search the internet for what you would consider good art. And it could be a famous piece of art if you want, or it can be contemporary, animation, sculpture, whatever you consider good art to be. And also an example of what bad art is. Like, give me an example of what that is. And a tip for that, what I put down here is, you guys can look up bad art and see what pops up, and you can go, hey, yeah, that is bad. But I would kind of look at it from a different lens. And my tip for you guys on that one would be maybe look up for this one, maybe famous or type art, or art that's being sold and being sold as art, and then maybe look at it and go, I don't like that. Why are people selling it? I want to get too caught up in for how much they're selling it for, because that can kind of mess up your perspective a little bit. Just really look at the art and kind of step back a little bit and go, do I like that or not? Or, this is all bad. I want to put it on here and describe why for the bad art. And in the end, you guys are going to put a paragraph reflection, pretty much just summing up what you guys wrote, both good and bad, and maybe some extra details here that you didn't think of. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And for each examples, you're going to do the description part for the critique, first step critique process. Okay, so scrolling down on the last part here is, instead of Canvas, you guys are actually going to put this on a Google Doc and just share it with me, and we should be good to go. All right, scrolling down here, here's the section with the Google Doc. You guys can click this little button here and it'll take you to the Google Doc. It should have access for you. Please make sure you guys are logged into your student Gmail accounts for that, or else you probably won't have access to it. So don't send me any requests for access from your personal emails if you guys are using it. Please log in with your regular student Gmail, just so I'm not pushing access buttons every 15 minutes or so. So that'll take you to the page there. and you guys won't have access to edit. So when you guys get into the Google Docs, go up to the top, I believe it's under File, and hit Copy. So that'll make a copy for you. In the copy, you'll be able to edit, and you can rename if you want. Okay, just make sure on that you guys are going to put your name there for that. And before I get into what that looks like, let's look at critique step number 1, description. Okay, and I used a famous painting here only for the sole reason that it might be something that we're all kind of maybe accustomed to seeing. You know, hopefully it's not new for a lot of you guys here. I'm sure most of you guys have seen this painting at least once in your life. But what we're going to do is describe it. Okay, so we're not analyzing it, we're not giving any interpretation to the meeting, and we're not judging how successful it is. Like, whether you think it's good or bad. With the description, you're just describing what is there. Okay, that's it. And some people go too far for this. I'm telling you guys, just describe what you guys see. And in bold here, I put, think of this as describing it to someone who's blind. That's the best way I can get that across. Okay, so you have somebody that's blind, they want to see Van Gogh's Starry Night, and you have to describe it to them, what's in it. And that's basically what you guys are doing there for the description part. Okay, you're not giving them your analysis of what you think about it. It's only describing what's there. Okay, and so below what you have here too is a list of art elements and principles of design. The art elements are to the left. This is what a painting or artwork is made up of. The principles of design to the right, this is how it's arranged, okay? And you don't have to use all of these. It's kind of hard to go over all of these, even in 6 weeks. So I just put a list here just to kind of give you guys some prompts to use here. And a lot of these are basic. We're talking about line and shape and color. Like all of us can pretty much talk about that kind of stuff here. So that's the description part of the critique. And here's an example right down here. So I'm just going to read this off and kind of point to it here just in case to give you guys some references here. So the first element I notice is the repetition of short yet thick lines. So that's like one of the first things that pops out in addition to color. And so we can see that like it's not realistic. We see all these, you know, line strokes here of pretty thick paint, which we can see even though it's a picture of a painting. And it's repeated throughout. You know, that's just kind of, you know, throughout the whole painting he uses that. There's not one point where he really lightens up on that thick brush stroke. Okay, so it's not in here, but repetition is a principle of design, and we're talking about line here. We're talking about thick line and kind of short line. They're not really elongated, maybe over here. And so we're kind of describing the line itself. And then they talk about color. So not just saying, oh, there's color. Okay, like the blind person would be like, okay, what colors? So you say what colors? You know, mostly looks like it's just blue and yellow. And the monochromatic colors here, we have white and black and a neutral brown pretty much. Don't really see anything else, maybe a little spot of red here and there, but basically blue and yellow. So you put that in there, which I did. And then you can describe what we're looking at. You know, is it a blob? Is it abstract? Is it a shape, just a square? Here we're looking at somewhat an abstract view of a small town. Okay, it's nighttime. I forgot to add that in my description. Okay, rolling hills or mountains in behind the town, and we get this weird figure kind of in the foreground here in the front of kind of a large shape. I described it as, you know, taking on the shape of fire. I wouldn't say it is fire because it's not red or orange, but it kind of looks like a abstracted version of maybe a bush or a tree right in the front there. And we got swirling shapes. We got a crescent moon up in the right hand corner. It's really vivid, bright orange and yellow. Everything, most of it's pretty cool with the blue. The skies are blue, the mountains are blue. You know, the nighttime sky is setting on the town, and the town is really blue. We can see some yellow in lights of the windows that are popping up through the town. The houses are really abstract, but we kind of see this large steeple, kind of looks like a church, kind of right in the middle, bottom part. And in the sky, we got some shining stars. We see that from the lines kind of being scattered out. Swirls in the sky. Don't know if those are clouds or it's just kind of there to visualize. Maybe it was a windy night. Okay. And we can kind of see some clouds laying possibly over the mountains there, kind of like a fog maybe. And you can also describe what the art is made up of. Okay, so for this one, if I've never seen it before, I'd probably say it's probably a painting or maybe oil pastels if I was familiar with that. You know, I'd also say, like, if I saw this in real life, here it's hard to tell, but like what the dimensions are. Is it really small or is it really large? Because that kind of changes the aspect of what we're looking at. You know, if it's a sculpture, tell us what the sculpture's made out of. And if you know about the artwork, you can also list who the artist is and the time period it was made, because sometimes time periods kind of add to our interpretation of what's happening here. And so you can also add that. Anything else I'm missing here? You know, mostly it's abstract. It's not a realistic view that we can tell, because not a lot of small details. It's, you know, got those heavy thick lines are making it look really abstract. And so that's the description part. Hopefully that's all you guys need is a paragraph or two on that for each of your examples. And sorry, I'm in the mode here, so it's kind of stuttering on me. And so let's pop up over to the Google Docs just so you guys can see that. I put in an example here just for reference. Please put your own examples. And I didn't do any description in there because I want this to be open. So, you know, I didn't give an example of that. So I just kind of left a starter sentence there. So you find a picture, put it in there, replace it with this one here. And this is an example of what good art is to me, because, and try to illustrate as much as you can in a paragraph or two. And then you'll do the same thing for what bad art is. Okay. And here I didn't put in an example because I really don't want to point you guys in any directions. I really want this to be open, so that's why I didn't put that. So feel free to erase this part here and just put the image in there and repeat the steps. So step one is your opinion, interpretation, or your opinion about what good art is. And then the critique step one, just describing what we're seeing there. And you're going to do that for the bad art example as well. And you're just going to wrap it up with a reflection. Describe what might be your overall personal prejudice or bias towards art. Okay. And you might be repeating what you've already been saying in here, but it's just really to wrap up and maybe to add for you to really reflect and think about, you know, what you guys think about art personally, and maybe to add a little bit more detail in there or ideas that pop up. And that should be it. And so if you get all of those elements there, there's that 20 points. Completion, good description, got your paragraphs in there, which is about 5 sentences, I would say, 5 sentences or more. You guys will get the full credit there. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. And if you have any questions on that, please reach out to me by email, to teacher email apash@hbuhsd.edu. All right, take care, guys.